Hello, today our usual weekly updates about AI, and as usual there are a lot of updates, so there is a list, but let's just go through it. Okay, this is me. Well, I haven't changed much since last week. So the biggest update this week, of course, is this Dev Day, which was on November 6th, and OpenAI made a lot of announcements. So many, you see the whole screen. And here is the couple YouTube videos. So one thing they did, they changed the model. Now it was GPT-4, now it's called GPT Turbo, and it's faster and cheaper. And I think what they did was the same as they did before with GPT 3.5. I mean 3, they made 3.5 Turbo, and according to my findings, they significantly reduced the number of parameters. So they used big model to create data set to train small model, and this way they can run smaller model and make it cheaper, much cheaper. Okay, so this is already in ChatGPT Plus. I am a paying customer, so I was able to test it. At first it was very buggy and there were a lot of outages and maybe some attempts to do denial of service attack, or I don't know. Now it's better and I'm actually enjoying it. For example, for coding, it tries to run code on its side and verify and debug it. So it actually provides working code. It's a bit slower, it spent more time on analyzing, but overall it's a big update. So it now supports 128K context length. K means thousands of tokens. So it's about 300 pages of a standard book. And let me remove all this. Okay. And it's more accurate because usually there is a problem with long context that it's accurate in the beginning and the end, but not accurate in the middle. So that's what they are fighting, to make it more accurate everywhere. They improved function calling. You can now call several functions in one message. You can ask it to produce JSON. So there is a mode, JSON mode. You can turn it on and off, and then it replies with a structured JSON, which is very convenient when you're creating or using APIs, creating your own applications, your own agents. You can seed it so that it will give you reproducible results. It's like with random function in languages. You can seed it every time differently, or you can seed it the same way and then it will give you the same answer every time. They now support logging. They have better knowledge up to April 2023. Remember, it was up to September 21. Now it's April 23. But if you ask about something current, like new, it uses Bing browser and it goes online, finds information, and it's really impressive, because I was asking about some recent startups and it just goes online, it finds the website and finds announcements, it summarizes them, does all by itself. You can bring your documents to GPT, and this works kind of like RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. So now there's a lot of conversations that all these people who tried to create RAG now will be out of work because the system will do it. Well, it's not exactly like this, but yeah, people now testing it, how it works. Multimodal, so it supports text, it supports images. DALL-E 3 can create images. It has vision, so it can look at the picture and interpret it and read it, can like do OCR of it, whatever. It has text to speech, so it's becoming truly multimodal. And also, you don't have to switch between the modes like before. You needed to select particular plugin. Now it just based on your question, on your prompt, and decides which model to use, what to do for you. Whisper, just a reminder, is open source. It's a speech recognition. Fine-tuning, custom models. OpenAI offers to work with enterprise customers. So they basically do consulting services to help you create model which suits your need. And if you're enterprise customer, you can use it in your secure enterprise environment. Well, secure inside OpenAI or inside Microsoft, which is about the same thing because Microsoft holds controlling interest in OpenAI. Twice larger rate limit. That means number of requests per unit of time. So now you can use it more. And they provide copyright shield for customers. As you know, they were sued multiple times, so they built in a lot of defense against the copyright problems, and they extend this defense to their customers. GPT-4 Turbo is cheaper than the previous one, and GPT 3.5 still exists, but now it gets longer context length. It's getting much cheaper, improved function calling and reproducible results, same as GPT-4. They also offer assistance API, and they also GPTs, which is kind of like assistance, but you don't use any code. So they're customizable without coding. The result is that you can create agents to do whatever you need to do. So you can give them instructions, they can use some external data, they can perform some actions. They created playground where you can play with those agents and build systems, and then you can publish in DevStore. So this is like App Store. Now they create DevStore. Okay, this is an example of how it works. So I asked, write Python code to generate a list of all prime numbers between 1 and 100. It wrote the code is working, but I was impressed that it incremented by 6, not by 1, not like going through all the numbers, but by 6. And I asked it, well, why in your code you increment by 6? And it explains that, well, because prime numbers should be in the form 6k plus minus 1, because 6k plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 cannot be prime, so it's only 6k plus 1 or 6k plus 5, which equivalent to 6k minus 1. Anyway, very good optimization, very good explanation. Yeah, it's a pleasure working with it. So it was major update with OpenAI. Now, major update with Hugging Large Language Model Leaderboard. What they did, they increased number of tests. So it was 4 tests. Now they added 3 more. One of them, Vinogrande. There was a Terry Vinograd, and he made a test which is kind of like Turing test. And Vinogrande is a large version, grande version of this Vinograd test. So it's adversarial and difficult test for common sense reasoning. And then they made another grade school math, you see, GSM. And then DROP, which is discrete reasoning over paragraphs. It's English reading comprehension. So because they added all these tests and now they calculate average, they get different number, which is not compatible like backwards. And models are in different order. Also, they removed a lot of models. So what's interesting about this? First of all, on the first place, the model is actually only 34 billion parameters. It's a small model. And it keeps the first place. This is very unique. This different background, these are Falcon models. They're big, about 180 billion parameters. Now look at these guys, 7 billion parameters. They both are Mistral, 7B. Very small models, and they're at about 100th position, 95, 104. So this is really impressive. They're not quantized down, but they're small, right? And quantized down, here we have LeMa on 290, about 300, right? And we have another LeMa. Well, Mistral, yeah, it's not quantized. I'm not sure why. Maybe Mistral quantized wasn't even included in this leaderboard. So I want to tell a few words about this winner, the first model. It's coming from China. It's open source. It's both in Chinese and in English. So here's GitHub and the model scope and their website. So they have created two models, and it was just recently. And not only that, they also created models with 200K context length. Wow. So you have models which are very accurate, models which are very small, models with long context length, and open source. Wow, wow. This is something to absolutely to play with. Okay, I want to list some trends which I see. One trend is smaller large language models trained on traces of bigger models. It started with Microsoft Orca. This summer they released the model Orca 13 billion parameters, open sourced it, and it was trained on explanation traces of GPT-4. So what it means, you have bigger model, GPT-4, you give it questions and answers, get the answers, and this is your becomes your data set to train the model. Then people created open version of it called Open Orca dataset. So it's on HuggingFace and you can use it, and many people use it very successfully. In fact, if you take Mistral model and then you fine-tune it on Open Orca, its accuracy increases, so it goes up on the leaderboard. GPT-3 was 170 billion parameters. GPT-3 Turbo, well, it looks like it's 20 billion parameters, so it's much smaller. It's like 8 or 9 times smaller. It's interesting because there was an article, and I say that it was because if you go to this article and you see Access paper withdrawn, you cannot read it. It appeared and disappeared. But for short period when it was, and this you see 1st of November. And so this is the picture of this article which was withdrawn. So what's interesting, in this article, they talk about a new Microsoft Code Diffusion model, which is here, Diffusion LM. They used it to generate code. Like in ChatGPT, you can ask it to write you Python code. So the Diffusion LM, it was doing this, I think, in Bash, Python, and I think JavaScript. I'm not sure, but now I cannot even read because I don't have it. And it's only 50 million parameters, and it was performing, as you see, like the accuracy on par with really good models. So you see this. Well, 74, okay, lower than big models, but pretty good nevertheless. But 50 million compared with like billions or hundreds of billions of parameters. So it's pretty impressive. But what's interesting about this table, look at this shaded line, ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo, 20 billion parameters. Okay, this article was from Microsoft people, so they knew like what's going on. Apparently, they just missed that they were not supposed to disclose this number. 20 billion parameters. So I think what they're doing the same thing like with Orca. They retrained GPT 3.5 using smaller version, using traces of bigger model, and that's how they achieved good performance. Anyway, current leader of HuggingFace OpenLLM is only 34 billion parameters. Yeah, GPT-4. So GPT-4 originally estimated is 1.7 tera parameters. So it's internally it's 8 models, and each one is like 220 billion parameters. The new 4 Turbo is faster and cheaper. So I think they did the same thing. How they made it cheaper? They made it smaller and retrained it on better data. So second trend is teams of models and agents. well, first is Microsoft AutoGen, right? It's a way to create teams of agents working and cooperating and communicating with each other. Multimodal models, again, you have vision and you have image generation, you have text and you have speech, and they all work together and they all support each other. New GPT-4, text, image, understand, create, coding, browsing. It's like a team of models. In fact, even if you look at GPT-4, which contains 8 models and they have specialization, it's also a team. Third trend, self-checking, self-correction. You see it all the time. Instead of using just one model, you use 2, 3, sometimes 10, which work together and check each other. Oh gosh. So this is true for large language models. This is true for RAG systems. Next trend, quality of training data. What we see is that people create better and better data sets, like for example Orca, and which allows them to achieve better accuracy. OpenAI now announced data partnerships to create open source and private data sets for AI training. I remember Andrew Ng was talking about it several years ago, and he was saying that, well, models is the easy part. The more difficult part is who owns the data, how create the data sets. If you have the data, you can do something with it, right? Next, HumanEval. So this is interesting. So HumanEval was introduced a couple years ago by OpenAI, and in this article, and it is a handcrafted data set of 164 programming challenges. It is also a benchmark to evaluate large language models developed by OpenAI. You can read about it. There is another HumanEval X, which is 820 high-quality human-crafted data samples. Why I'm talking about it? Because different models are good for different things. So there's a model called Fine called LeMa 34B, and its version 2 was released in August, I think, and it gets 74% on HumanEval. So for coding challenges, and this is state of the art. This is the best. But HumanEval test is not included in the leaderboard. So there are 7 different tests. And on these other tests, this particular model performs very poorly, very low. It's positioned of like 1100 out of 1600. So it's a way low. But you see, like for its specialization, it's actually very good. Okay, next, Grok. So Elon Musk showed on Twitter his new achievement, which is a chatbot. So they created a company, X.AI, which creates large language models, and this is the first model, and it has access to all Twitter data. And Grok is designed to be intuitive and understanding, creating friendly, enjoyable experience for users, aims to provide unique approach, unique interactions, empathy, rapport, moveful announcement about X.AI ambitions, missions to comprehend reality. Okay, so what's interesting, it has a sense of humor and it has sense of sarcasm. So this is interesting. Okay, Eric Hartford, he is famous for creating a very good data set, which is called Dolphin, and he used this to fine-tune other models, and here it's about Mistral, a model. So we take Mistral, we fine-tune it with Dolphin, and we get a model which is uncensored and better than original Mistral. So the latest version of this model just released, what's new is conversation and empathy. And of course, it's uncensored, as all Eric Hartford's models. Okay, a lot of small things. Daily.AI, this is a service which can help you to start publishing a newsletter using AI. So AI will find information and create the newsletter for you and will publish from your business to your customers. Microsoft Phi 1.5, it's a very small LLM and trained on synthetic textbook data. Now multimodal can view and interpret images. Okay, learning from mistakes, LeMa, makes LLM better reasoner, fine-tunes LLMs on mistake correction data pairs generated by GPT-4. So yet another way to train your model. So first collect inaccurate reasoning paths from various LLMs. They employ GPT-4 as a corrector to identify the mistake, explain the reason, and correct the mistake. So again, new way to improve the models. This article basically says that, well, some of the models on the top, they're actually cheaters, because what happens, the testing data or whatever leaked into training data. And the article proposes some guidelines how to avoid this. Autogen. Well, I was talking about Autogen for several weeks now. So this is very, very popular. It's coming from Microsoft, and this is a way to use multiple models to work together. RAG, picking the best embedding and re-ranker. Reasoning over knowledge graphs. Maybe we need to make one presentation about that because it's becoming popular. The frameworks like logical rules, KG embeddings, and neural provers could be used to enhance LLMs with structured reasoning capabilities. Advanced RAG, improving retrieval using hypothetical document embeddings. So the idea is that you change the document before doing embeddings. But anyway, you can read this article. Mistral 7B, recipes for fine-tuning and quantization on your computer. And it's a good article about that. Long Cul LoRa, efficient, effective method to extend context length of LLMs. It's open source. You can use it yourself. Doesn't require a lot of GPUs. So here on V, oh gosh, Volta is really old. It's like several $100s on Amazon. It's a very weak old GPU, but they were able to use it on LLaMA 2.7b and 13b and extend from 4K to 8K, even 12K. So very easy, good. Self-RAG. So this is an article about self-RAG. Microsoft has over 1 million paying GitHub Copilot users. I didn't know that. I didn't know that they have so many. Well, GitHub has a lot of users, but paying users and over 1 million. Wow. Reinforcement learning, human feedback, RLHF, used all the time, plus reward model, plus proximal policy optimizer on LLMs. So it's an interesting article. It doesn't cover the whole picture end to end, how you introduce reinforcement learning, but it covers a lot of ground, explains what you do. So suppose model gives answer, and then human can rank this answer, and then you can use it to improve your model over time. But humans are very expensive. What if we train some model, which is called a reward preference model, to behave kind of like a human, to do most of the ranking by itself? And it's possible, it's effective, it works very well. So that's another thing. This article from Google DeepMind, pre-training data mixtures enable narrow model selection capabilities in transformer models. So the main idea is large language models are not good at extrapolation. So they're good at statistically forecasting, but only if it is in the domain which only if it was in training data. So they perform on task with the domain that they were trained in, but fail on significantly degrade on even simple out-of-domain extrapolation tasks. I want to make a parallel for example, for a linear regression. So if you draw the line, then you can extrapolate, right? For X, you can predict what Y will be. But if you, for regression, you use random forest, which is a tree like that, right? And then given X, how you find the Y? Well, you go in the tree to find the value. But if you go to the right, it cannot extrapolate. What it will do, it will go to the right, and it will give you the largest value, and then it'll just predict it. So this is kind of what's happening in large language models as well. Maybe bad parallel, I don't know. But large language models are not good at extrapolation. Okay, MLC LLM. What it is, it's an open source project, and the goal is to run large language models on all platforms. We're talking about Android, phones and tablets, and Apple phone and tablets, and you can run it on computers, on Macs and Linux and Windows. You can do it from command line. You can do it in web browsers. So for each one, they have native compiling, like high performance solution. And yeah, and this is a very exciting project, I think. So they support various GPUs, whatever. Last one, I just couldn't resist. Who is the author of AI? And of course, there is no author. You know, there are tens of thousands, if not, I don't know, hundreds of millions of people participate in this movement. So you cannot point a main author. And generally, the truth about science is prosaic. There are detailed case studies show again and again that the role of genius in advancing science is overstated. Science is the product of work of many ordinary people, just like every other human activity. So I want to give this striking example about Einstein. Everybody thinks that Einstein created special theory of relativity, or at least general, or at least photo effect, or at least explain Brownian motion. But actually, it's all not true. Einstein was an inept and moronic person who could not even tie his own shoelaces. He contributed nothing original to the science. On the contrary, he stole the ideas of others. When we actually examine the life of Albert Einstein, we'll find that his only brilliance was in his ability to plagiarize and steal other people's ideas, passing them as his own. This includes all his work. The special and general theories of relativity, the equivalence of energy and mass, the photon theory of light, and the explanation of Brownian motion in liquids. Everything was plagiarized. So if you go to this link, it provides very good explanation with citations. I mean, it's really, really detailed. I like this part of the article. What I don't like that they also started blaming Jewish people in general for putting Einstein on a pedestal and for kind of painting him as a genius when he was not. But anyway, I knew that Einstein haven't created special theory of relativity. I knew it for many years because, well, everybody knew it because it was Poincaré, well, and many others who put everything in. All the formulas which Einstein published in 1905, they were all published before him officially by other people. So yeah, everything is plagiarized. Amazing. Anyway, this is the end of this presentation. Thank you for coming, and I'm stopping.